How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another UKnowAdamTsang podcast. It is UKnowAdamTsang, and today I'm sitting with Mike Backus. Coach Mike Backus?
Yes, it is.
Fantastic. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Adam, good. First of all, before we get started, I want to thank you for what you're doing for the community of Statesboro. I think it's a wonderful thing.
Thank you so much. Mike, we actually met relatively recently ago. You came into the restaurant, you sat down, and something compelled you to maybe say hello. What was that?
Your story.
My story?
Yes.
Okay.
That story I read and saw in the local media.
Okay.
I had to meet you based on the fact that, in my opinion, we got a young man here who came and brought his culture, introduced his culture to a different society. Was able to work that culture right in with the present society that's going on now, gain friends, gain popularity, and now we're here today, Adam. But so congratulations to you for what you're doing. And I wanted to meet who that guy was.
Thank you. Thank you.
So that's how I got to know you.
But today's podcast is not about me. It is about you. And Coach, it's really been interesting to kind of like discover the different parts of your story. You have been the head coach for Georgia Southern?
I've been the associate head coach for Georgia Southern.
Okay.
Yes.
And you have always been involved with the basketball program?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes. From since 1980.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did you find yourself in Statesboro?
Well, actually recruited. I was brought in for an interview. A little bit about my background. I started my college playing career at Hampton Institute. It's now Hampton University.
Okay.
Was able to go from there to becoming the associate head coach at Hampton, where I played,
Okay.
and assistant dean of men. And actually, I coached some of the guys I actually played with the year before.
That's awesome.
So that started it, and from there, I got an opportunity to go to Savannah State University in Savannah.
Okay.
I was supposed to go as the assistant coach. The head coach was on sabbatical. Lo and behold, when I got there, the head coach didn't want to come back. So now I am the head coach. So I go from the assistant coach to the head coach at the age of 23.
Wow.
So I coached 7 years at Savannah State, D3, Division III school.
Okay.
So we stayed there 7 years and had some success. And right across town was a university called Armstrong, which is now a part of Georgia Southern.
That's right.
They were Division II.
Okay.
So they're going across town. I go up one division. I'm the associate head coach there. Then I get a call to go out to Athens, Ohio, and become the associate head coach in Athens, Ohio University.
Okay.
And was there for a couple of years, and then Georgia Southern called me and asked me if I would come in for an interview. I said yes, because my wife, who's from Savannah, says, Mike, let's just go back and visit Savannah again. we're not moving to Statesboro. I said, okay. But we came at him, and I said, let's just stay 2 years. We came in 1980. We started turning things around with the head coach, Frank Kearns. I'm the associate head coach. We won a few games. We started having success. We got a couple of guys that was drafted first round by the Chicago Bulls.
Nice.
One thing led to another. We go to four postseason tournaments, and so 1980, and here's 2021, and I'm still here.
It's been quite the journey.
Yes, it has.
What has been the thing that has stood out to you the most about, your time that you spent?
Probably the progression of the sport. The progression of cultures as I would go from school to school, and how in the end, they never really change. They're all the same type of things, cultures and so forth. It's just what it is now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's been interesting. And remember now, when I'm coaching on the college level, they are always 22 and 23 years old. So, because that age group is who I'm dealing with. So being able to be a mentor to those guys, watch them grow, and follow their stories probably has been the highlight of my coaching career.
Yeah, and we'll jump into a little bit of that. I wanted to, something that piqued my interest is, when you first became the coach, you did it at a ripe age of 23.
Yes.
Was that something that was typical during that time, or was that kind of a unique situation to have someone that young kind of like handling?
Well, I mean, it was so unique that when I did that in 1971, I was the youngest college coach in the country.
Wow.
Remember now, if you look at it right now, because of things like the transfer portal, you got guys playing at 23 and 24.
Yeah. That's right.
So put that in perspective.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
so-
right. What was that like?
Well, it was a learning situation, because I always like to say that everything that I do when I talk to people, I try to make it a learning situation. Here I am at the ripe age of 23. I got a college team. Some of the guys were my age. And so my first thought was, how am I going to motivate them? How am I going to lead them? And what am I to say to guys who are as old as you? So my thing was just be myself,
Sure.
treat them as guys, and not try to be a dictator and tell them what to do, but show them by example and setting a culture. This is how I would like to see you do it, and what do you think?
Did you ever run into problems with that?
Always.
It wasn't easy.
It wasn't easy.
It wasn't easy.
First problem, I wasn't old enough to rent the vans to drive.
So you had literally a problem in getting the equipment in order to go on the road.
At that time,
Wow.
the school rented 2 vans to drive and chauffeur's license. Somebody had to be 25. I was 23,
Oh my goodness.
and I couldn't wait to be 25 so I
Yeah.
could drive. But I had 2 players who could drive.
Oh wow.
They were 25.
As that so at times, there's times when, in my businesses, in my organizations, I have to manage people that are older than I am.
Yes.
When you approach that, do you approach that any different in a way than managing someone that's younger than you, or how do you take? What's your take on that?
My take on that is once you develop a system or culture that everybody is trying to work toward, I remove the barriers of age and so forth, and talk the culture and talk what it was we were trying to achieve, and let's do it together. I never wanted to be that guy who says, I'm the coach and you got to do it this way, and it's my way or the highway. I'm not that kind of person. I'm the kind of guy, and I pride myself on being this kind of coach, is I want to make everything a learning situation, and I actually want to know what the player is thinking. Well, what do you think in this situation? How would you do this? Let's talk about that and make that a learning situation, and then everybody grows
That's right.
from that.
That's right.
Yeah, everybody grows. They get a chance to grow in the environment, so they're expressing their points and views. They're learning. They're doing it within the realm of the organization.
Sure.
And so everybody grows.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's how I went about it.
You talk a lot about culture.
Yes.
Let's kind of deep dive into that, because for any organization, I think culture is very important.
Yes.
Right. What type of culture did you try to cultivate within your organizations, and did you see any correlation between that and potentially the way that they led their lives in the future?
Yes. My first thought that comes to my mind when you ask me that is when I went to Savannah State University from Hampton University. Well, it was Hampton Institute. It was a private institution. We had to take ROTC for 2 years. That was a structured situation. The institute was based on a culture of making sure that we were a well-rounded individual. I had to wear coach on the bus. I had to wear ties. We had to go to service every Sunday. So I had something that I had learned and was instilled in me that I tried to bring to my coaching situations as a head coach. So trying to teach them through how I would dress and look. And they would say, why you have on a coat and tie while we're traveling on this bus? And I said, well, I think we have an image that I think we should uphold. So without telling them, slowly, one by one, they would do that.
Oh man, that's leadership right there.
And then when we would go eat, I asked them, where do y'all want to go? And they said, well, let's go to McDonald's. And I said, well, for $4 more, I think we can go sit at the table. They wait on us and we can eat. Another situation. So I kept bringing those situations with me and those learning and teaching points.
Sure.
Every stop of the way. And if you tell guys right now, they will say, Coach, we tried to emulate how you act and looked and dressed. So that was leadership without saying a word.
Mm-hmm. Did you grow up like that? Was that something that was inherent to your childhood?
Yes. Yes. Not knowing it was. not at the time.
Sure.
Yeah, as I look back on it now, with a father who was a truant officer in the school system and a county.
What officer?
A truant counselor, a
Truant.
truant officer. Make sure people were in school.
Okay.
Yeah, and, yeah, they could go out in the streets and get them if they weren't in school.
Oh, really?
He would go get them, knock on the door.
What do you mean get them? Like,
Go to the house and knock on the door. I see you weren't in school today, and why aren't you in school? And let's go to school.
do we need some of that in this day and age?
If you get through the politics. You need somebody with a whip.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, but
That's
if you can get through the politics, yeah. But yeah,
So
that
he was
truant-
responsible for doing
that
that.
truant officer. He would get the
Okay.
report, and he saw. So every morning that I would get up to go to school, I saw a man sitting at the table with a shirt and tie, drinking coffee, doing the crossword puzzle. I thought that was the neatest thing I've ever seen. I do that to this day.
Yeah.
He never told me about it. I just started doing that. So those type of things that that I'll bring with me and do those things. So to this day, I do it, and then all of his kids, they do the same thing.
That's
they
awesome.
Yeah. Plus, they worked in a Colonia Manor restaurant, which was an antebellum restaurant on Highway 301 from north to south, and it was the place to stop going south to have that experience.
Yeah.
They would be at the door in checkerboard.
So he was
skirts.
part of the restaurant industry?
Yes,
for-
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And he would be at the door, and he would be Bader D, and he would let him in. He had
Oh,
his
very
red
cool.
coats, and he would set him down. And so every night when they would come home, and I'm the youngest out of 8 kids, they would sit me down and would show me what they served that day and how I used the utensils to eat.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so that's how you kind of like picked up
All of that. Yeah. So those type things. And here I am, 70 plus, and so I know that the first time I saw a soup ladle and some soup, my mother told me, she says, Mike, you eat your soup this way. She says, just like a ship going out to sea, I push my spoon away from me,
Okay.
which is the proper way to eat soup.
I got you.
Now that lesson at that right page has stayed with me today. I know it like the back of my hand.
Yeah.
So those type of things were instilled, and here again, there's a religious component. They went to church and they believed in something, and so you're going there and you saw different people, and kind of how I met my wife years later, and so so all of that kind of makes me who I am, and how I would try to instill like cultures and people, to explore their culture, make the best of that culture that they can, and don't be pigeonholed or narrow thinking on what the world should look like.
So there was a ton of discipline that was kind of from the very beginning.
Yes.
When you were growing up, and then at what point did basketball become part of the narrative, the story?
Basketball was what they did in the playground.
Okay.
Not the playground, the field.
Sure.
Where I'm growing up, everybody was in sports. My brothers were in sports. I just picked up a ball and started playing sports at a very, very young age. And was on, basketball team. We did that, very successful in the basketball team, and started getting noticed from different universities. But my mother called me in one day from the restaurant and says, Mike, you know what? We've put everybody else through school. We don't have enough money to send you to college.
Oh.
And she tells me this going into my senior year. She says, so we don't know what you're going to do. You probably have to go into the service or something. And I told her, I said, don't you worry. I will get me a scholarship to go play basketball somewhere, and you won't have to worry about my college education.
Well, so the brother, you said the other members of the family also played sports.
Yes.
Were they not looked at for like scholarship or anything?
No.
Okay.
I was the best one.
Oh, okay. That's one way to put it. I like it. I like it.
I learned from all of them.
Yeah.
Everything they did, but so I got that scholarship to Hampton, and went up there and.
Did it make so? When she told you that, was that just kind of like just laying down kind of like what was going on at that time, or was there? How did that feel? Were you so focused on was the scholarship always part of the story? I guess.
No. I knew I was going to go to college because everybody else went.
Sure.
It's what I thought.
Sure.
Somehow they made it work.
Sure.
If I was good enough to get a scholarship, it wasn't really talked about. It was something that was going to happen one way or the other. But when she told me that story, I buckled down.
And that's when you started.
Elevated my game. And I said, well, if I need to get to where I need to go, I got to do more. And so that was kind of a philosophy. So I did that.
What challenges did you face during that time period as a basketball player?
Challenges as a basketball player was none. I mean, except going to a university or here again an institute of players who had a better, not upbringing, but a better class system to grow up in. They were ahead of me from that standpoint. I had to play catch up because they were doctors' kids and laureate kids. This was like a private school, and so I was told don't go there because I wouldn't fit in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you feel that at any point?
While I was there? But but when I was told that, I said, well, I'm going to prove you wrong. But once I got there, I kind of noticed the cultural difference, and I saw what they were talking about. They were a leg up on me in terms of what they had seen and done in their lives with their family. They traveled more. They had cars and things like that. So I had to find my niche in that type of society, which in my mind required another adjustment.
What was that adjustment?
The adjustment was if I'm going to be in the company of these guys who all these All-Americans, they've done all these things, I better find something that I can bring to this table that I don't see them doing. I said, so whatever that is, if it's rebounding, if it's dribbling, if it's passing, I said, I got to find me something about this program that's missing. And so I would work my way through that progression, and then I would do that, and then I was accepted into the group, and then I became a captain of the team. And
you made captain?
Yes.
Okay.
Of that squad. And so lo and behold, going into my senior year, out of all those people, there were only two of us with more humble backgrounds that were still there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I became the coach, assistant dean of men at that school. So that was an adjustment, and so
I think that's fascinating, right? Because it seems like some people would look at that and say, okay, this is going to hold me back. But you looked at it and analyzed it, figured out where your place was, and actually it propelled you forward.
Yes. I didn't know, but I was in leadership training.
There we go.
Yeah, I was in leadership training. Didn't know it because every time I was faced with a new situation, it called for a new leadership style on my part in order to get there and things to do. So I'm in now a new culture, and you always are in new cultures and social mores. You're always moving and forwarding and getting yourself into these situations, and you have to adjust with it. That's why there's no one size fit all from a leadership standpoint. So as I saw those things progress, then I had to progress with them, and everything became a learning curve for me.
Sure.
Yeah. So I'm maturing and growing and doing things, and then so I instill those things in my guys.
That's nice.
When I was coaching. Yeah.
As a coach, you are faced with all these different challenges. Can you remember a time that it was difficult for you to kind of, try and figure out what the best thing to do is? Because there's hard calls, right? There's always these very tough decisions to be made.
Well, in terms of athletic decisions with basketball, X's and O's and so forth, that was there. But navigating the culture through the eyes of these guys, they all had a different view of the same culture. I got guys on this team who came from dirt floors in this thing. I'm going home. I don't belong here. Why don't you think you belong here? But and so I had to set them down individually, Adam, and let them know you are as good as anybody else, or if not, I wouldn't bring you here. And I said, I don't care if you spend but 1 year on this campus. I said, you will be better off as a person than if you never got here in the first place. I said, so we're going to take this year by year, and we're going to grow and develop, and let's see. So then you got guys on the team that came to campus driving BMWs, and I'm going, wow, your car's better than mine, But so that's a different level.
Sure. So
he had to be taught a different way. So all you put all that together, and that's what's so good about it. You have to make it work in order to be successful as a program.
Do you have a preference towards the type of player that you want? Do you look at kind of like the people that have had, you were talking about haves and have-nots, right?
You're right.
Like, is there a preference towards the type of player? Could you tell like what a player was going to actually do? Because like from a business standpoint, I equate it to the interview, right?
Mm-hmm.
Within that 5 minutes, I'm supposed to be able to tell whether or not this person is going to be an asset to the organization or going to be a detriment to the organization.
Right. Well, in my case, remember now, I'm recruiting who comes here.
Yeah.
So I'm responsible for that person. So my first thing out of the block is I'm recruiting you, and if I didn't think you were good enough to be here, I wouldn't bring you here.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing.
Sure.
So that evaluation process is all on me. And meshing all these different 15, 16 personalities together is what makes basketball or any sport so interesting. Because the same guys that can win 20 games one year, the same guys can lose 20 the next.
And what determines
From a culture a culture standpoint, what you are willing to accept as a player, if you are for the good of the organization than for yourself, and if you can keep moving in that direction, then you start having those winning streaks. We won 17 games in a row.
Wow.
One year. We've been to 4 postseason tournaments with the same guys, and so you can tell when it clicks on them that they have bought in, they accept what's going on, they have overcome the challenges, and they know how to live within that system, taking the good and the bad. Yeah. And so you can, and that's beautiful. I mean, that's a wonderful thing to see when it all works together.
comes together.
Yeah.
And you talk about like the evolution of the sport.
Yes.
You've seen kind of like these changes that have happened over time.
Yes.
You've probably seen Statesboro change.
Oh,
quite
no question.
a bit.
No question.
What was it like when you first got here to what it is now?
I came here in 1980 from Ohio University for an interview, and here we are, still here.
What was
When
it
I
like?
came on campus in 1980, there were 5,000 students here on this campus, 5,000 students. The basketball team was 2 and 24.
2 and 24.
Yes. They wanted me to come in and help them turn the team around and do some recruiting.
Yeah.
So we did that. We slowly turned it around. We had to bring in the best players that we could find, and that sometimes went against the grain or thinking of what they wanted to see on the court in terms of individuals, but they couldn't argue with the success. And so navigating a little bit of that and now letting the community see a new culture, they had to buy in. So you can play. If you're good, you're good, and color doesn't matter. And so we went through some of that, and
Did color matter at the start?
no question.
Wow.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did.
What was that like?
I didn't let it bother me. I took the high road. I could have easily taken, I call it the low road, and make an argument out of it. But I stayed positive, took the high road, and actually educating people along the way. One funny episode that brought my attention to it was when I was here, and we brought in some more players. They started to win, and I had one player, one fan from the community, stand up in a restaurant and shout across the restaurant and ask me, and he says, "Coach Backus," and I said, "Yes." He says, "If you want us to come to the games again, you don't have to bring in more whites."
What?
And so the restaurant got quiet. So I thought about it, and I stood up and I said, "Sir, you know what?" I said, "You're absolutely right. As a matter of fact, I just recruited 2 whites, Rufus White and Leroy White." Adam, the whole place just died. Because we had a teaching situation. Remember I told you?
Yes,
I always,
yes,
all right.
yes,
This is
yes.
a learning situation.
Yes.
So now the person that said that was an older white gentleman
Sure.
who after I told him that and we had that conversation, became the biggest fan, hugged me, rubbed my neck all the time. And so that was a changeover
That's right.
that you saw coming. I could laugh about it. I could have got mad about it. I could have gone rah. But no. I had players here that I'm trying to educate and graduate and get their futures going. So I didn't have any time for that.
That's right.
So that's it. And so just think about that now. You come in 1980, 81, you experience that, and here we are, 21, and we got 27,000 students, and nobody cares about that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Such a transition.
Yes. I've seen it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
When they asked you initially to take the position, it must have been challenging, right? You're going to, how do you view that, right? Like, do you view it as like, I'm going into a situation that's not the greatest? I mean, 2-24. I mean, the program's, the culture's incorrect.
Right.
What made you say, okay, well, let's do this?
The challenge. The challenge. I mean, I'm going, well, wait a minute, I got to do better than this. So we bring in the head coach, and the head coach was incredible. Coach Kearns, he came in from Chattanooga, X and O man. We came in, we got together, and he says, Mike, if you recruit him, he says, I sure can coach him. And if you run the program, run the culture, and help me with the coaching, I think we can be successful. And we were. We came in, we had, like I said, 17 games winning streaks. Jeff Sanders was the first round draft choice, Chicago Bulls.
Yeah.
Mike Curry, Detroit Pistons head coach, associate head coach of Philadelphia 76ers, NBA player, union representative. I got guys playing overseas, and on and on and on. And the guy that I told you about with the dirt floor, and that's the actual story. I brought him in. He had the dirt floor. He's now a very, very successful man with multiple businesses and in real estate and has done wonders.
Yeah.
Those type of stories.
Yes.
That makes it all worthwhile.
We had mentioned this before, but one of the questions I had for you was, how do you tell? Like, what do you look for in an individual to be able to see, is this person going to be able to exceed in not only the sport, but also potentially life?
There is something in all players, if you're around them, that you can see them developing their own ideas and how they approach life. The guys that are aggressive and who's always striving to learn and stuff, you see that they are being self-motivated and self-disciplined on their own. And you can see those guys being able to step outside this situation, apply those same skills, and be successful. So you see that, and you kind of push that, and you nurture it, and you can tell. And all of the guys that I've done that to this day, are my friends, and I get a call from them once a week.
I love that.
They name their kids after me. I have to go to bar mitzvahs. I went to one not too long for their son. Their kids now go to Georgia Southern.
I love that.
Yeah. I'm the executive director of a round ball club, which consists of former athletes that play basketball for Georgia Southern. I interact with those guys on that level as a volunteer with the basketball team, and so it's just been evolving, and it's been one long relationship. Yeah.
You still do a lot for this community. What all are you involved in?
Well, when I transitioned out of basketball, I stayed at the university and transitioned into the academic affairs there. And then I became the director in marketing for all of the graduate programs on campus. At the time, there was 42 of them. So I'm going out and I'm recruiting. So now I'm recruiting graduate students as opposed to
for sports. So this is no longer in the sports room.
No. This is graduate students for our graduate programs at Georgia Southern. So I'm going out and recruiting a whole different brand of people now, right? And so I established a recruiting program where I would bring in minorities into the university to go to graduate school, and all different kind of backgrounds. And to this day, and like yesterday, I'll call her name, Giselle George, who's the vice president for Goldman Sachs, called me to thank me for helping her.
I love that.
Yeah, and so I did that. Then when I got out of retired from Georgia Southern, I became the resource development director for the local Boys and Girls Club and spent 10 years raising money and mentoring kids.
With so many different things that you're interacting with, what has been the most rewarding experience for you?
The growth. To see them from here and how they are now. Right. And when I first saw them at 17 and now at 25 and you're successful and doing good, I can't tell me every important thing in their lives that we did that got them to another level. They coached in 44 in February. We did this and we did that. And you said this and said that. And I said, okay. That's incredible.
It must be extremely rewarding when you hear stories, interacting with people and seeing them kind of like their successes throughout the years.
Right.
What do you think is coming up for, this team in Statesboro right now? Are you involved with Georgia Southern basketball right now?
Yes.
What do you do for them?
In a voluntary position, I'm the executive director of their Round Ball Club.
What does that mean?
That's a club that brings back all the former basketball players, and we form a club, and we support the current basketball staff.
Okay.
Those guys will come back, and we'll celebrate a big weekend. They get to come back.
What
and
weekend
visit
is
campus.
that? Have you guys had that?
We haven't got that date yet. It seems to always fall on the Georgia State game. So they'll come back that day. We introduce them at halftime, and we go and let them take tours of the campus to see how it's changed. We go have a big dinner and just reminisce. We'll show old films of when they used to play. And just let them, I call it, have their day in the sun again.
That's right.
Yeah, and just let them do that.
Have they done this? Have you been the director
Yes,
of this for a while?
Yeah, we established it maybe 5 years ago because there wasn't such a thing.
That's
so we
right.
established it, and it's been great. And this current basketball staff has embraced it and tremendously and made it a part of their program.
How is the program right now? Basketball.
Well, basketball for Nasha, people like me who follow basketball. These guys last year, this coaching staff last year, played for the national championship. This staff came from Texas Tech University. Okay. These assistant coaches played for the national championship last year or year before against Virginia. They lose in overtime. They walk off that court after having played that game into Hanner Fieldhouse and become the coaching staff of Georgia Southern. That is rare.
That's right.
For us to have such a group of people to coach our basketball program. Yeah. I mean, you go from playing a national championship to Statesboro.
That's right.
Yeah. So if people stop and think about that as to what they bring to us, and they came in and had to establish their culture and the way they do things based on that level, it's been nothing but positive and great things happening.
What do you see in the future?
A continuation of progressing, bringing in big-time players, on and on and on. Just having a very solid, inclusive basketball program. Now, I didn't mention the win and loss. Now, I didn't say win or lose. I don't. That comes by itself.
Sure.
That'll happen with the culture change, and it happens. So as you watch them change players and people come in and what they're doing and who they're playing and the facilities, and we're going into this convocation center and so all this good stuff, you'll see that it's as good as it can get. Yeah. Excited.
When is the first game of the season?
I don't have my clock. It's against Ball State. It's going to come up, I guess, 42 days from now.
Okay.
Yeah, and we want everybody in there.
That's right.
For that Ball State game.
Pack out Hanner, right?
Yeah. To kick that off. Coach Berg and his coaching staff would definitely appreciate that.
That's right. One last thing before we go. I think that what I see more than anything is your ability to have a very high level of leadership when you're working with people. If there's one word of advice that you'd like to give potentially everybody out there, what would that be?
There is no one size fit all for leadership qualities and abilities. Everybody can't respond to the same leadership the same way. You have to get to know the person that you are trying to lead. You're trying to get them to buy into a situation that you're in charge of. It can't be forced. It has to be shown. It has to be made examples for them to follow. Nelson Mandela had a great quote. He says he likes to lead from the back and let everybody else in front think they're leading. I kind of do a little of that. I'm on the lines with the guy. I'm in their faces. I'm showing them leadership skills, and they're just moving around. They're going along with the leadership. They know where they're trying to get, but I'm that guy there that's telling them, you got to do it this way, and this is how it's done. Do it your way, but within the realm of the organization, we'll be okay. And so just kind of coach from that perspective. So that's what I would say. I would say make every business or sports, whenever there is a one-on-one conversation with an employee or player, always make it a learning situation, and try to get the input of the person that you're talking to. Okay, you didn't quite do this correctly. What do you think, or what did you see when you were doing that? How can we improve that together? Buy in, and just let them, and then go from there. And that has always worked for me.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah.
Coach, thank you so much for coming on this show. I really appreciate your time, and
Sure.
I thank you so much for sharing your story. Super excited to be, going to the games and experiencing everything that you just spoke about.
It'll be there.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
Go
Thank you.
Go Eagles.
Go Eagles. Let's go.